Hey, what's up, everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm all checked in. Everything went well. It's 11:11 exactly, and that's fitting because it's a lot of spirituals, coincidental stuff that I've been kind of experiencing. Excuse me, over the last 24 hours. So the fact that I'm turning this on at 11:11 even is pretty dang on brand. But yeah, well. I don't know where I want to start, honestly, because there's two things that have really come to mind. First of all, the type of sleep experience I had last night was really something else. And then there was some coincidences and some tough stuff that took place in the world that kind of aligned with something else that was going on. So I guess I'll start there, man. Rest in peace to Rob Reiner, Hollywood director, and his wife were found yesterday having been murdered, stabbed to death in their home, and it's been said that they believe it was their son that did it. Their daughter actually found them. Feel sorry, very sorry for their family, and that was just really, that hit hard. Not really from a personal standpoint, but like just I used to watch All in the Family reruns, to be honest with you, even though that was well before my time. I saw a lot of it at one point in my life, so I remember Meathead, I remember the show, I remember the theme song, and Rob Reiner seemed like a really kind guy. He really seemed like, some people have a energy that they exude that comes off as very kind and very easy to be around. Somebody you would, like a Santa Claus type of vibe. He had that vibe. He exuded that energy, and I didn't know him personally. I didn't know of him personally. But as it pertains to his politics, I'm learning about that now, what he really felt about certain things. But, he just came off as a guy that was a really nice guy all life long. And it bothered me a lot that this is how he ended up passing away. It bothered me a lot. His own son is who have done this to him. That bothered me a lot. So I think what makes this really strange is that I was listening to a podcast, Joe Budden mentioned Phil Hartman, and I remember Phil Hartman. His wife had ultimately killed him in a murder-suicide situation back in the late 90s, and I was looking up Phil Hartman yesterday in the motel room. After hearing his name, I looked it up. I just became curious, and I ended up reading up on what happened there and went down that rabbit hole. And was just thinking, man, it's horrible in Hollywood. Sometimes people really do this. They get strung out on drugs, and they take their demons out on their loved ones. And that story really stuck with me. It was the last thing I saw before taking my daytime nap. And when I woke up, the Rob Reiner news had come out. And so I just thought that was really strange. I still got the Hartman tab, I think it was still open in my phone when the Rob Reiner news came up. So it was just ironic. I mean, this Phil Hartman thing took place back when I was like 11 years old. And I ain't heard too many stories like that since. But for me to have looked up Phil Hartman around the same time they found Rob's body, essentially. They said that they had found him around 3 o'clock. I was looking up Phil Hartman around 3 o'clock. So that was just like one of those weird things, man, where it's like, yo, how's this happening on the same day? Like, how is this in my orbit? This scenario in my orbit at the same time this is taking place in his life. And it was like several different other things like that took place that day. Like, for example, I heard a voice in my head earlier in the day telling me I was going to have a blast with the basketball game. That was ahead, and the game ended up being exactly what I thought it was going to be, to the point where the game was close, but I knew we were going to win because I knew that voice wouldn't have told me I was going to have a blast in the event we'd lose. So I never quite thought we were going to lose, even though with 13 seconds left, we were down by 1. It was that voice in my head that I trusted to that degree, and I knew we were going to win, and we did, and I was not surprised, and there was a weird spiritual feeling around that, saying essentially something preluded to my understanding that was going to be the case. And there was another scenario like that. I don't remember what the template was, what the subject was rather, but it was another situation like that yesterday And maybe I'll think about it as we go along here, but just certain things that was like preluding to what was next, and it was essentially in my orbit, and then it came to pass. It was like, how is this happening? A trio of that, to be exact. So yeah, that bothered the heck out of me, man. I want to document that and just say, yo, man, rest in peace to everybody there, Hartman and Reiner families. Prayers out to y'all. And then I think about the Andy Dick situation where he was said to have been on drug. He was found out ODing on crack a few days ago. Just Hollywood and these drugs, man. These people, they really need a lot of help, man. Hollywood the devil's got his hands on Hollywood, has the whole time, and new people going into Hollywood. You just gotta really guard your spirit, man. Guard your heart. Guard your life. You only have one life, and I know people like getting high or whatever, but these drugs are killing y'all, man. Like, let's just be real. Drugs are taking y'all out. So many of y'all dying on fentanyl and stuff like that. Y'all want to get high. Y'all love the culture of drugs, but the drugs are very much poisonous, and you're gonna pay a harsh price trying to get high, man. That's really what it comes down to, and that's just what I want to say. That Andy Dick situation was tough too, because he survived it, but like, you know, this is a man who's struggled with different things, and made bad decisions based on the drugs. I believe maybe mental health issues as well, but to see him just like cracked out like that is crazy, man. So yeah, that's what comes to mind, man. We've lost a lot of people to these drugs. Just be careful. Be careful. Understand what you're giving up when you decide you need this experience. Could be your life. And so yeah, man, this is what it was. That Rob Reiner situation really struck home with me, bothered me a lot, and he didn't deserve that. His wife didn't deserve that. Whatever the case may be, they didn't deserve that. Least of all to the hand of their own kid. So yeah, that's what that is, man. And then another thing, last night, it was a weird situation where, you know, I went to sleep praying. After all of that stuff went down and all these coincidences, I just felt like, you know, I felt close to God last night. I thanked him for following through on everything that he'd said in my head, all the promises that he made for the day. Things were going to work out with the room. I was going to have a blast with the game. He was going to work out things so that I could do everything I needed to do. Keeping me from getting in that car accident, which could have been really, really bad, to be honest with you guys. And just felt like God had his hands on me in a really unique way yesterday, and I felt especially close to him last night. So I did all my praying, laid my head down, went to sleep, and felt this weird, like, it felt like something was laying on me, like a heavy cloud was laying on me. It didn't feel threatening necessarily, but it was imposing. It was one of them situations where it's almost like sleep paralysis, but not really. It was very strange how that went. I'll explain it further now. So as I laid my head on that pillow, the pillow felt hard. First of all, it was a soft pillow, but it laid in such a way that it almost made you feel like you were laying your head on stone after a while. It wasn't the most comfortable pillow, but it was also something else to it too. It was like you could feel the heaviness of it as well from a spiritual standpoint. I didn't get it really, but when I laid down, but as I started to fall asleep, I felt this energy that I'm describing to you. At first, I thought it was the spirit of my mother, because what I likened it to was something I've referred to several times when there was a big earthquake in Los Angeles back when I was a small child. We had this chandelier, not a chandelier, but like this vase-like light bulb holder over my bed. It swung over my bed from the ceiling. And as we had that earthquake, my mother, while I was asleep, kind of jumped on top of me when it started shaking to assure that thing, if it fell on her and not me. And that was the exact same feeling that I got. It felt like my mother was laying on me as I was going to sleep. The same feeling I felt that night when I woke up with my mother laying over me, telling me it was going to be all right, it was comforting, but it was like, okay, what the hell? It was the exact feeling that felt like. The very exact feeling. And something was laying on me, and I was like, maybe it's my mother. But then it was like, nah, this ain't my mom. It got to a point where it's like, nah, it's a similar vibe. It wants to comfort me, but my mother is not going to restrict my body while I'm asleep. Spiritually, she's not going to do that. I know her well enough to know, unless something's specifically threatening me, she would never have done nothing like that. You know what I mean? And furthermore, if I start feeling uncomfortable, she would get up immediately, no question. Spiritually, it would not be a situation my mother's haunting me. That's never going to happen. I know her spirit well enough to know that. And we've talked about stuff like that when she was alive, where I know how we both feel about that type of stuff. She ain't gonna do that. So I'm like, okay, this is an energy of something that's trying to draw from the love inside of me. This is something that's trying to pretend like it's a comforting mother, but it's really a leech of an energy looking for its own child. Maybe it's a scorned mother type energy or a scorned lover type energy that's attached itself to me. That's what it was. I knew it after getting over the idea that was my mother. I realized it wasn't necessarily a threat, but it was volatile too, to the point where it's like it's the spirit of a mother who's lost a child who thinks you their child. You know, I liken it to something I saw very recently in a zoo. They had taken piglets and wrapped it in tiger cloth to give to a mother tiger who had lost all of her cubs, so that she would be comforted and understand in her mourning, that she would still see what would resemble something that looks like her kids, to help her be comforted by that. It was like that type of vibe, to where whatever it was had lost whatever it loved, and it had found me, and it attached itself to me thinking I was it. That type of thing. And so I didn't feel scared because I had prayed so much the night before. Going into that sleep, I didn't feel any fear. In fact, I felt very strong, and it was one of the situations like, look, I was essentially talking to it like, I will pray for you. I will pray for you. You know, you basically came to the right place, because I'm in the right spirit of mind, because I've been praying all night going into this bed sleep. So whatever it is you are, I want you to know I'm not who you think I am. I'm not that for which you love, or not that for which is going to welcome this energy. But since we here, let me pray for you. I'm going to pray for you. And as I started to pray for you, it started to loosen its grip. It started to like loosen up, like kind of get off of me more or less. And I was able to fall asleep not long after that, without any real struggle. I was just saying, Lord, come into this situation, this particular spirit obviously needs you now. And it's attached itself to me, trying to latch onto me for whatever energy, whatever reason. You've made me who I need to be in this position. I thank you for allowing me to be in this mindset so that I can be of service to you and service to this energy. And so I was saying my prayers for about 5 minutes, and I felt that thing start to slowly loosen its grip, slowly start to lift up off me, and I just went right back to sleep. And as I went to sleep, I had all types of weird dreams, man. I don't know. I wish I remembered the essence of these dreams, but whatever that spirit was, it continued into my dream. And I don't remember the essence of what was going on, but at the end, it was a very, very specific energy that was going on, scenario that was going on, and it was essentially me walking around with a soda in my hand, and it said the word Israel naturally, as it always does. And I'm walking around with this in my hand, and it was a metaphor for something that's going on a lot in our society. Is a lot of us are unhappy with the genocide going on in Israel, but we walk around with, or we continue to purchase things that are owned by Zionists. And so what this did was represent that. And so I'm sitting here telling everybody, you know, I look at someone else, for example, who I'm in the presence of where I'm at, wherever I'm at, and they're holding a bottle that says Israel, some type of soda, And I look around to another person, they got a bottle in their hand that says Israel. And I'm sitting here saying, man, I don't know how y'all drinking this. I don't know, I stand for Palestine, a free Palestine. And then I look at my left hand and I realize I'm holding a bottle that says Israel. And it was one of those situations where I threw it to the ground. And then it turned into the Israeli flag. And it created a hole in the ground and fell through that hole. It was very strange, man. Like immediately when I threw it to the ground, it was like it became an acid that created a crater in the ground below me. And it slips, it just kind of fell through that hole that it created. And I'm like, I step over the hole and I say, see, I don't stand with this stuff. And I'm just calling other people out. But I realized I'm a hypocrite because I had been drinking whatever that juice was, whatever the soda was. I didn't realize it said Israel on it. But I had been holding it. It was a metaphor for what we often do in this country right now. A lot of us want to stand up for the right things, but we're patronizing the people who are ultimately committing this genocide. There's a metaphor for it all. Now, you can't buy anything without patronizing these people because they own every damn thing. Any soda you drink, any food you eat, more or less, 9 out of 10 times, if it's in this country, it's owned by one of them. So after that whole scenario played itself out, the dream skipped off to some other place. I was in some type of movie theater, and as I'm going into the movie theater, I see this black young man, a black child. But the way it was set up was, all you saw was the head, and underneath it was like a pallet with wheels on it. It was all that's left of him. And he was alive. And it was strange because he was able to speak. But underneath where his throat would be was like two holes. It's very strange, big holes too. Almost look like nostrils, but like opposite, opposite space. The nose is above the mouth. In this case, the nostrils, or the holes rather, were where the throat would otherwise be. And he's rolling back and forth, mind you, outside of the movie theater, outside of the where you would go in to sit down in the theater, like in the area where they take the tickets or the concession stand, but literally right outside of the entrance to the theater. So I'm like, all right, this is weird as hell, and it's eerie. And I speak to him because at this point, I'm holding a different bottle that has nothing but water in it. And it's halfway drink. I had already drinking half of it. And I looked at him. I'm like, hey man, you want the rest of this? Just figured he could use some water, man. I don't know. And I heard a voice say, nah, don't give him that. Don't give him that. No, you don't give him that. And I ignored that voice. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't mind giving up my water. It's just water. I know it's good because I drink half of it. And he was like, yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate it. So he rolled toward me. And I poured the water to what I thought was trying to pour it in his mouth, and accidentally poured a little bit in the hole, and he started coughing a little bit, and he was like, nah, catch my mouth. And so I proceeded to get it right, poured the rest in his mouth. He thanked me, and I woke up. But he was a brother. He was definitely an African person. Not African-American, African. Likely from an African country. And I know I've been listening to a lot of African music, so that's not too far-fetched. And I remember mentioning something about, some metaphor I had made up where I was talking about somebody only being the head and having the body. I don't remember what we were talking about. It was on this channel, a couple of videos, So I figured it came from that idea, why that would show up in my dream that way. But that was strange, man. That dream was crazy. And so as I think about the spiritual not ramifications, but the spiritual experience that I had, I just felt like that dream, it kind of just carried into, was just a carryover from that spiritual experience. that same heaviness was now gone, but it was enough of it left over carried into that dream. And I wish I remembered the rest of the dream because it held some weight as well. Leading up to that drinking the Israel soda moment, it was a lot going on that was even heavier. I just don't remember at this moment. But the gist of it, I was able to give you. So, yeah, that's what I had, man. A very spiritual night, very eerie type experience. A lot of prayer attached to it, though. A lot of psychic type of stuff going on, and it was just it was extremely spiritual yesterday, man. Extremely spiritual. Going into my sleep. So I woke up this morning, all of that has shaken off. I felt pretty normal. Said my prayers when I woke up, got up on time, aligned with every bit of what the timing should have been for my day, which I was thankful for and prayed about. Just wanted to, get out of that room on time, check into this room on time, do all this different stuff. And it all worked out exactly the way I wanted it to. And, now I'm ready to do whatever the heck this day is about, whatever the God has for me to do today, I'm ready to do it. So that's really what it is, man. That's kind of what my night's been like. I ain't had a night like that in a long time where that much was going on. Not at all, man. I tend to just not really feel stuff like that too much. Not very often, but when I do, it can be really, really intense, and that's exactly what that was. Extremely intense, undeniable. And this is why I tell all of my people who follow me, who may not believe, there's something else out there than what it is you see, man. I've been exposed to a lot of it in my little walk of life, man. I've seen enough to know it's more than what y'all see. For those who don't believe, who only think it's all about just what you can touch and feel, maybe you ain't had some of these experiences I had, man. I had enough of them, man. At this point to where it's like, I can't afford to say that to you guys. And I got to tell you, it's more to this thing. And I got to tell you that as I have a stronger relationship with God, the stuff that he puts in my head directly correlates to the stuff that's happening in the world around me. And that don't really make any sense. Other than to say it's more to this than what we see. And it's happened enough times for me to say, okay, I got a strong enough sample size to take it seriously. That's the God's honest truth, man. Strong enough sample size to take it seriously. So, that's why I tend to trust myself when I'm walking with this camera in my hand and I'm telling y'all this, telling y'all that, whatever I'm saying. I tend to trust it because I know that there's something else going on as it pertains to what's being shared with me and how I'm supposed to relay it to you all. It's not as simple as these are my experiences and this is what I know from those experiences. Some of this stuff I ain't had no experience with at all. I just trust it like I trust that voice in my head, and as it tends to do, it aligns with what it is going on. And so just like I can have these thoughts in my head and then watch things happen, so too can I trust that I say these things to you, and then from there the Lord makes sure these things happen in your life. I'm not a psychic. I don't believe it works that way. I don't have any control over it. I can't call on it. I'm not always able to do it. But just the same, it's like I just trust myself at this point. Just let it be, So for example, last time I spoke to you guys, I was saying, look, man, the idol's gonna perish. Those who don't have purpose, those who don't serve either God or the enemy, are just here to do whatever they choose to do and just stumbling into whatever they do. There ain't gonna be much of a world for y'all, and we're in a spiritual war that is no longer really a holding pattern, but it's time to suit up. Yeah, that is essentially something I don't come to you all saying I have experience in regards to. That's something I just trust that when I say it, the Lord's He's gonna make it come to pass in the exact way that I said it. That's one of those. And I don't wish death on nobody or anything like that, but like I said, the world is shifting the spiritual world that is shifting. I think God is ready to make a different decision with all of us than what it is that we've been experiencing. And it's just, you know, Scripture says he's going to come back, and Jesus is going to come back. And I think that he's probably ready to push us into a phase where that's going to be the case. I don't know how soon he wants to do these things, but however that's supposed to look, it's starting to come to pass now. The beginning stages of that evident to be. And so that's why I tell y'all, look, man, just get your spirit right, get your mind right. Understand what can be manipulatable. Being inebriated is spiritually manipulatable. Being spiritually bankrupt and believing there's no God or nothing to this thing is very much spiritually manipulatable. The enemy can use all of these energies, especially if you don't believe there's no enemy at all. He can use that to his advantage. That's exactly what best serves him, is if you don't think he exists and that you are why all things happen. If you believe that, he can definitely work with that. He can work with that every time. So that's what I'm going to tell everybody. There's going to be a lot of folks who may disagree with that. Maybe your experiences show you something different. There's still a lot I've yet to learn. Yet that is, a lot that is yet to be exposed to me. I don't assume to know all the stuff there is to know, or the angles, or whatever, or to be a master of spirituality or anything like that. I'm just trusting my gut, trusting my experiences, and sharing what the Lord puts in my heart. That's it. And there is a shift ahead. And those of us who believe in God would be wise to obey him, get close to him, and expect to see more than what you've probably seen before in regards to spirituality, experiences of sleep paralysis and all the different types of stuff like that, deja vu, stuff like that. Expect to see more of that. God's making changes in the reality we're in. I think there are changes being made to to what he's looking at and what he wants to do here. So that's just what I'm sharing. Hopefully everybody's safe. Everybody is able to protect themselves and their families from what's ahead, from what's around us. Stuff that maybe isn't spiritually inclined or spiritually centered, but worldly centered. There's a lot of stuff out here to pay attention to and be up on. It's a lot of misdirection. And it's not the time to look at people who have something to share in regards to knowledge and shun them or say, you don't know, it's nothing to what you're saying. This is the time to do homework. It's the time to fact check. It's the time to dig into everything that seems credible to you, especially if you live in this Western world. These conspiracy theories, it's not the time to just brush them off and say none of this is happening, none of this is real, none of this holds any credibility. It's not the time to be that person. That person is in the dark about real things. That's what I want to say. For those of us who just think capitalism is it, money is the main motive, and nothing else should be considered. If you got money, you can protect yourself from anything, and that's it. If that's what you think, if that's what this is about for you, you are in the dark. And as I said in the previous video, you can expect for that to be a detriment to you going forward. It's a spiritual reality here. Like I said, I don't know the answers or the secrets and all of that, but I can tell you there is a spiritual reality to this life we are in. And if you've ever experienced anything abnormal in any regard, whether you had a weird dream or sleep paralysis, something, anything like that, you need to know that that's a tip of the iceberg in regards to the reality of spiritual understandings. And that as you push forward, your ability to connect with the Creator will determine how well you're able to navigate those circumstances. I think, without knowing, that some people who die in their sleep succumb to attacks like that, like what I experienced last night. They succumb to these type of things. Just a thought. Obviously, nobody who's ever died in their sleep has ever been able to tell us that. And I'd imagine some people, the opposite. They go into the light in the dream, welcomed by their family members, and it's peaceful. But I think some people die in horror, and it's for no other reason than they don't have no spiritual protection, no way of fighting that for which attacks their spirit, and the spirit ultimately leaves their body, going with whatever that demon is that ultimately try to take them. I really believe that. And so we need to have a relationship with God so we can protect ourselves and have the strength necessary to walk away from that demon, or push that demon up off us, or know how to. Prayer is how you get out of that. Having a relationship with God, and then from there knowing how to call on him when you need him the most, is how you protect yourself from that type of stuff. If you're not covered, you're in trouble. And that's the truth. And the power of being covered is not just in regards to your own relationship, but it also has to do with people who love you's relationship as well. Because if they're covering the people that they love, that could be some protection over you as well. You may have been able to get out of that stuff not off of your own, but off of the prayers that were prayed on your behalf. You may have favor in your life aligned with the timing of good favor, not because of your own prayers, because of prayers that were prayed on your behalf. And two, can you cover others? So you having a strong enough relationship with God and being consistent in that practice will align you with the strength and the favor to protect your loved ones spiritually. And if you don't believe in nothing like that, you don't think nothing like that is in existence, then guess what? You are idle. You're idle. What I've been calling idle for the last couple of days, that's what you are. You ain't covering nobody. You're not covered yourself. You're just out here. You know what I mean? And moving off of whatever your strength and your energy is, thinking the world is worldly, and that's it. You ain't gonna be here long, based on what it is that I feel is coming. You got to get yourself in order. You got to stop being idle, all of us. Cover yourself spiritually, cover your family spiritually, cover your loved ones spiritually, cover a stranger spiritually. Make yourself useful to God, man. Because if you're only making yourself useful to the world and you're doing everything consumerism is about and capitalism is about, and all of it's about what you want and how you're going to make yourself happy and that's it, believe me, man, you are working for the enemy, or you're idle and doing nothing. And that is, at this point, in my opinion, dangerous. Dangerous in the environment of spiritual warfare. That's dangerous. It may not have been when things were not so intense, but at this point, that's dangerous. And so that's what I want to say, man. That I hope to whatever degree the Lord will make all of this okay for everybody that I'm praying for, all of you guys. You know what I mean? That you'll find him seeing you as worthy to continue on your journey, and that everything that you're trying to do works out. You know what I mean? I wish the best for everybody, and I hope that I've convinced some people who didn't believe to now become curious. You know, I hope I convinced some people who didn't believe to start believing, and then from there start taking the steps to establish that relationship with God so that they can protect themselves and their loved ones from the enemy, which does exist. But as I was meditating on this a few nights ago, the essence of the enemy is lies. And so the presence of the enemy is too a lie. And he doesn't exist without lies. Those who he has working for him cannot function without the presence of lies. And if not for his addiction to lies, would he even be a problem for the rest of us? It's the essence of his deception and his devotion to that deception that makes him a problem. So while the devil himself does exist if scripture tells the truth, he was once an angel casted out of heaven who had the audacity to weaponize all of his will against those that God created. The reality is, his presence as that antagonist is based on pure falsehoods, posture and arrogance, agony, things that the Lord can heal you from, things that with truth you won't even align with. If you knew better, you do better. Yes. So for those who say they don't believe in the devil, there's an essence to truth to him not being in existence, to say that he's only present as the quote-unquote enemy, as the devil, for the presence of lies, falsehoods, and futile anger toward the living God. He is not without essence, but his purpose is without merit. So when people say the devil is a lie, that's what that means to me. You know, it's like somebody who's mad at the world, but are only mad at the world because they believe something that ain't actually true. And if shown the truth, they no longer are angry at the world. And so you don't have to protect against that if not for the presence of them believing lies in their hearts. So too, it's the same for the enemy himself. If he didn't believe lies, if he weren't a believer in lies, in the deception and the essence of trying to rival God, which is a lie in and of itself, then he wouldn't even be in the positions he's in to create the problems that he creates for the living. And that, in and of itself, is something that needs to be considered when dealing with him. The devil is a lie. He does exist, but only because of lies does he exist as a problem. I said all that to say, God is the truth. God is the truth. He is in existence. He created that for which is, and the reality that forms truth. And he doesn't need lies, nor does he need you to believe in him in order for him to exist in his own truth. He exists whether you believe or not. Satan needs you to believe in him in order for his essence to function as it does in your life. You got to fall into his web in order for him to then be empowered in your life. You got to follow him down the road of deception in order for him to actually be able to continue that road himself. Because if nobody believes in the devil and everybody has the Holy Spirit protecting them from the essence of his lies, then he is standing alone, swinging at air all day long, not really able to affect or destroy anything. It requires you to buy into his nonsense. It requires many to buy into his nonsense in order for them to effectively have the power that he ultimately wields. It's a lie that you gotta believe in order for it to work. It's a lie that he has to continue to believe, that he can actually rival God in order for him to effectively take his position as enemy. And so if everybody, and I mean everybody in unison, collectively protects themselves against said enemy by having this relationship with God that I've been talking about, then he's just standing still in his own lies by himself, looking crazy, without the ability to really affect anyone or anything. But because one person or 10 people or many people believe in him, he's able to affect not only them with the evil that he does, but others who stand idly as victims to his energy. And so I think that what it is that I'm telling y'all is the essence of overcoming the enemy. But we're a long way away from everybody being able to live in truth. We're wrapped and woven in lies and politics that uphold lies and falsehoods, to where we always keep the devil alive in our midst, so long as we continue to think it's okay to be fake, it's okay to do wrong, that we the center of the universe and selfishness is ultimately our home. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody thinks selfishness is true north. What I need, what I get, what I manifest, what I accomplish, my credit, who's jealous of me, who wants what I have, my paranoia, my protection. As long as that's the essence of what people are dealing with or moving off of, that's what powers people to move, the devil's going to always be able to manifest temptation and sell you lies based on that arrogance and survive off of your devotion to those things, feeding your demons. If everybody lines up, looks at the Lord and say, what's next? What can he do? What can he do? If everybody drops all their lies, stands on their square, say, I'm flawed in this way, I want to be better, and I want the Lord to show me how. In unison, the devil had nowhere to stand. There's no standing room for him. And that's why what it is that I do is necessary. That's why what it is that I'm talking about is necessary. Because regardless of what religion you're in or what space you're in spiritually, I'm suggesting to you that this is possible within you. And if this message spreads far and wide, devil can't survive. It's a matter of time. And so that's pretty much what I want to say, man. I know I'm a weapon against the enemy. I understand that I'm covered, not only by my own prayers, but by prayers of people who've loved me. And I also know that I'm susceptible to letting the devil in if I too turn toward him and do all the things I shouldn't do. And the Lord's been trying to train me against that for years. And I've made mistakes. As long as I'm alive, I still have to continue to win these battles. And I hope that you're able to as well. And, I'm not above you. I'm not better than you. Nor is any man, woman, or collection of men and women better than you. No matter who says what, no matter what book they read from. No matter how much they own, how much power they believe they have, or how much money they've been able to steal or garner or earn or whatever the word would be. And the essence of the Lord choosing people does not make them better than you. And the essence of the Lord saying that he has chosen people doesn't mean that he's chosen them to harbor more value in his heart than you. That is a lie. That is a lie that the devil has suggested to man, that man has run with for thousands of years. And they've been doing all the wrong things, keeping the devil alive and spreading him everywhere they've gone off the essence of that arrogance, just the same as any other deception. Built on lies, the structure of deception and violence, for which all are odes paid to the enemy himself. We are not agents of chaos and violence to our heart. Babies do not come into this earth agents of violence, agents of separation, agents of manipulation. No. There are people in the world believing in the enemy and all of his lies, making the environment for which that energy is spread possible. And that's why you see people come out evil. That's why you see so much chaos and untreated sickness. That's why you see the things that we're seeing in our world. Is because we've allowed it to be the case. Generations have come through, lived evil, and died unapologetic. And enough of that has made the world a very, very difficult place for human beings. And that was a choice. Just like it's a choice to carry it forward, to pass it forward. Enough cowards who were in the presence of that environment, not standing on their square and being willing to sacrifice what's necessary to ensure that that no longer is the case. People who only cared about what they had, so they did whatever they needed to do, living in disgrace, thinking they were protecting themselves when that was the wrong way to go in regards to that. Thinking they were protecting their families when that was the wrong way to go in regards to that. It's a choice, man. The enemy had a choice, and the people have a choice as well. And at the end of the day, with every person looking in the mirror making their decision, we come together to make whatever this is going to be for the next generation. Whatever spiritual environment that this ends up being for all of us. It comes from the choices that we make in our lives to essentially be believers in lies and practicers of cowardice and violence and deception. So what do you choose is the question I have for you. Now that you've heard me say this, what's going to be your choice? You going to keep passing that forward? You going to keep letting that be the case? Or you going to align with something that's a little better than that so that you can give your child and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren a chance at an environment that isn't as difficult to be a good person within? Because for every person who turns away from that, who looks in the mirror and says, I don't want to do that, makes it that much more possible for others too. For those who say they're going to use their voice to let people know what their choices are and to let people understand about the power of truth and alignment with a relationship with God for the protection of self and others, and how that trickles down to the world being a safer place for all of us, both in our lives and spiritually, then becomes a difficult space for the enemy to stand. More and more people turn that way. So that's what I want to say, man. I speak from the heart. I understand that it's going to be a long time before we get where we need to go, that we may not have universal alignment with God ever in this life until he comes back in a physical form off a cloud or something. I understand that a lot of people believe that prophecy needs to come to pass and that it's inevitable that there's war, and that it's inevitable that we're going to continue to fight. It's inevitable that we're going to see the things in Revelations, and it's inevitable that things have to get worse before they get better. I really don't know. I'm not here to tell you that I have an inclination that we can prevent the essence of Revelations from coming to pass. I don't know that. I haven't been told that. But I have to assume that the only way that it would be even possible is that somebody suggests that it's possible and challenge people to be better within themselves. That's literally all I can say. If such a thing could be possible, if we can make what would be prophecy ultimately alive, it would come from all of us collectively coming together and saying that it's possible. And that's what it really would be. And if we're going to win the war that we're in, it's going to be a lot of us coming together, a good portion of us coming together and making the decision to be better from within our own essence. Turn away from the darkness that we've been engaging in and seek the help that ultimately is available to us. To know that it is possible to change after being in the dark. You can come out of that and turn away from them ways and never be that way again. That it is possible to redeem yourself. And then from there, be a protector of self and others spiritually. Maybe you didn't have ancestors praying for you, but you can start being an ancestor for yours who prayed for them. Make this world a much more lucky place for them to live in, if you want to put it in those terms. And your relationship with God, you turn away from your evil ways. That gives them the best opportunity to have that protection in their lifetime when it's time for them to deal with whatever's out here in their walk of life, in their times. My ancestors prayed for me, and I've seen a lot of favor in my life through difficulties. I don't believe that would be there if they didn't have those prayers. And those prayers wouldn't be there if they were engaging in worldly behaviors. They believe in something greater than themselves. And I benefit from that. They believe in good ethics. Just as you pass down curses, you can pass down blessings. They believed in that. I benefit from it. And your kids will too. Your great-grandkids will too. But we got to snap out of this worldly nonsense that we own and start snapping into what options may be available to us and our loved ones spiritually, with a relationship with God who wants to help you do that, who wants to protect you, who wants to be proud of you in that regard, and who wants you to put forth that same energy into your kids so they'll do that for their grandkids, so on and so forth. It ain't just curses out here, man. It ain't just poor ramifications or flight or flight. There's more to it than that, and that's what I'm suggesting to you all. Praise God. Bdf 44, I thank y'all for watching.